Hi, sorry to cut in. Before I start this video, I just wanted to say that I'm working on getting 1,000 subscribers right now. So if you want to subscribe, that would really help me out. Even leaving a comment, liking the video, sharing it. I also have a Patreon that you can subscribe to where in every single tier you can get 2 Mandalas per month. I also give freebies sometimes if you want to subscribe to my Patreon for free. And I make coloring books. They are available to download if you're subscribed to my Patreon. But if you want a coloring book on its own, you can get those on Amazon. Everything is going to be linked in my description, including my Instagram and my TikTok. So if you like my art and you want to help me out, you can go check out the links that I have. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, hi everyone. Today I'm gonna show you guys how I make my mandalas. I get asked this question a lot because on TikTok, where I have a bit of an audience, I mostly do mandalas, so everybody keeps asking me how I make them. And this has changed a little bit over the years, so I'm gonna show you guys what I do now. And before I start, I just want to say I am self-taught. I just go off of what I've seen on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So please do your own research and take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm gonna show you what I do. Other people might do it differently. I might not even be doing it properly. I don't know. Just keep that in mind before I start. Anyway, let's get started. The app that I use is Amaziograph. This is an app that you can download on iOS. I think it's only available on iOS. I'm not sure about Android. And you do have to pay for it. I think when I bought it a couple of years ago, I paid $2 around. But if anybody knows of any free apps, please write them down in the description, because I don't know of any free apps. I know a couple of people told me some free apps a while ago, but I don't remember them. So if you know of any, just write it down in the description, because I know it would help a lot of people out. But I use Amaziograph for mandalas. I love the simplicity of the app. It's super easy to use. There's a lot of different options of canvases you can use, but I mainly use the mandala one for mandalas, and it just opens to something that's already prepared for you. You can go and look at the settings of your canvas. Sometimes I'll change the amount of symmetry lines that are used, just depending on what I feel like doing that day. You can also change the symmetry options of the canvas, but I don't really play with that. I just use what it gives me. And for my brush, I use different sizes, so I'll adjust as I'm drawing. I use the circle brush. I don't use the shape that looks the sharpest. I use the second one, because the sharpest shape, when you draw, it comes out a little bit more pixelated than this one, so I prefer to use this one. The opacity is at 100, the line pattern off. Smoothness, I put it up to 5, because I don't have the steadiest hands, which is not ideal for when you're doing line art. And I turn my react to pressure completely off. For my mandalas, I prefer not to worry about if I'm pressing harder, the line's gonna get thicker. If I'm pressing lighter, the line's gonna get thinner. I just want to be able to have one consistent line all around. And then it's pretty much the same settings for the eraser. So then once I make sure all my settings are the way I want them to be, because every time I start a new canvas, the settings revert back to just default, then I start to draw. And the first step to this is figuring out how I want to start. I think that's the most complicated part for me, is the first pattern I do, because the first pattern is the baseline, and whatever I do here just determines the entire drawing. So I start with a brush size of 10. I just put a little dot in the middle so that when I zoom in, I can see how big that pattern is going to be, because it kind of gets a little bit confusing when there's nothing on the page and you zoom in. You can't really tell how big your shape is. So this looks pretty big, but when I zoom out, you can barely see that. And I do a lot of mandalas specifically for coloring books. So if there's a shape that's this small, it's gonna be hard for somebody to color in. So I always wanna make sure that it's big enough for somebody to color. And then if I'm not really worrying about that, then that's not a factor that I consider. So I always usually put a little dot in the middle. Or sometimes if I wanna make the middle pattern a little bit bigger, I'll zoom out all the way and I'll put a dot where I want the pattern to stop. So if I want the pattern to be this far away, I'll put a dot, I zoom in, and then I do my line however big I want it to be. So for this mandala, I want the drawing process to go a little bit faster, so I'm gonna put my line thickness a little bit higher, so I have it at 20 right now. And then honestly, I just start drawing. Normally I'll start off my mandalas with a flower, or I'll start off with just a regular circle, depending on what I'm feeling. Today I want to do a flower. I zoom out and check my shape to make sure I like how big it is or small it is. And I like this, so I zoom in and continue the drawing. At this point, I'm only doing what I call the outer shell of my drawing. Put a pin in that. What I'm doing right now is I want this to be pointy. I'll just go in with my eraser and erase what I don't want there. So now I have a sharp edge. Anyway, back to what I was saying. This is my outer shell, so I'll draw the entire drawing with just simple patterns like this, and then at the end of the drawing I'll go in, I'll put my brush size a little bit smaller, and I'll go in with the details of the drawing, whatever I feel like doing. But for now I just start with the outer shell. This is when I normally zone out. I watch some YouTube videos, I watch Netflix, and you'll see me erasing a lot because, like I said before, I don't have the steadiest hands, so sometimes my lines won't come out as smooth as I want them. And I always, this is very important, I always zoom out and check the entirety of my drawing because I want to make sure what I'm doing looks good as a whole. If you look closely at a lot of my mandalas, you'll notice that a lot of the patterns that I draw are the exact same patterns over and over and over again. I have a solid like 10 patterns that I do in every single one of my mandalas, and you know what? That's okay. I do mandalas to relax. If I were stressed about making my mandalas and coming up with new patterns, and if I didn't enjoy the process of making my mandalas, I wouldn't continue this. And it's the same with Zentangle drawings, which I also have a tutorial coming out very soon for my Zentangle drawings. If I didn't enjoy doing them, if I stressed out about them, I wouldn't continue. This is purely for relaxation. I do this because I enjoy it. Okay, so now my outer shell is done and I go in with my details. So I make my brush smaller and I do the details. Pretty simple. And honestly, if I'm wrong, correct me, because like I said, I don't know. Don't take my word for it. I just do this for fun. But I don't think there's really a wrong way to do a mandala. I don't think there's any patterns that you have to put in your mandalas. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing, that's pretty much all that matters. And honestly, you can do a mandala just on paper. You can do it on Procreate, you can do it on any other free apps. You don't have to use an app specifically for mandalas and Zentangle patterns. I just do it because it makes my life a little bit easier because I do so many of these. So I don't like my mandalas to take more than max 2 hours if I'm doing a very detailed one. So there you go. That's how I make my mandalas. If you have a question and I didn't answer it in this video, please leave a comment and I will answer your question. And don't forget, I have a Patreon that you can subscribe to where there's plenty of perks, but on every single tier you can get 2 mandalas per month. I also have coloring books that are available to download on my Patreon, and if you just want my coloring book, they're available on Amazon. Everything is linked in my description, including my TikTok, my Instagram, and all the stuff that I'm working on. But most importantly, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments and I will answer you. So that's all for this video, and I will see you guys next week.